I pulled at the weeds, but they just kept on growing. Dirty hands, dirty knees. You said, just keep on sowing. I buried the seed in a dark, earthy grave and watched as the clouds gave their gift of the rain. I waited and waited for harvest to come, but you said the seed needed warmth from the sun. So I sat in the sun and I rested my eyes till I woke to your words saying, "Dear, it is time." This harvest didn't start with the fruit. It started with the plow, digging deep into dry, forgotten land. It started with ripping out the roots and the thorns and the weeds and prying out the rocks. It started with tilling the ground so it could breathe. Then after the plowing season came the planting. Dreams of what a garden could look like began. Imagination started to slowly wake up from her winter hibernation. And the process of creating something out of nothing began. Those little dreams got buried down deep into the soil. But there was hope that even though there was nothing to show, roots were reaching down deep. And then came the sprouts, proof that something was happening. And then the waiting. All that could be done was wait. Water, sun, and time. But even though there were no fruit to harvest yet, the sprouts started to bloom, telling the world that although the waiting is still fruitless, it can still be beautiful. And then, proof that hard work really does pay off. Fruit is starting to grow and harvest is here. There's a mix of excitement, pride, and satisfying exhaustion. But then came the lies, the pests that said that all your bounty is not big enough. All you can think about is the fruit that was lost to the ravens. This isn't what I thought harvest would feel like. What I thought would feel like a celebration feels more like a storm of mixed emotions. If you haven't caught on by now, I have learned more about myself from gardening than about just how to grow my own food. I see why Jesus used so many farming metaphors in so many of his parables. It makes sense. The more God shows me how much I'm like that little seed, the more I want to get my hands dirty. I've had a small garden in my backyard for the last several years. I live in a downtown area of a small city, and I don't have much space. But what I do have, I make do with. I use mesh planters called smart pots, and they do just fine for now. I've had years where my whole backyard has turned into a pumpkin patch. Not the most ideal scenario, but boy was it memorable. I also have been helping care for my parents' garden and their animals while they're gone. They have a much bigger garden. In exchange for me helping them harvest and preserve their vegetables, they send me home with fresh produce. It's helpful for me because I get to learn from my mother's green thumb in the process. When I was a kid, one of my chores was to weed the garden. I hated it. I'll admit, there's still a large part of me that feels the same, but I have started to understand the value in it now. We had this little rooster. He was a frizzle, which meant he was smaller than the average rooster and he had curly feathers on his feet. His name was Garfield. Every time we were outside pulling weeds, Garfield would come join us. He would hop onto our backs and sit on our shoulders and stay perched while we pulled the weeds. It was almost like he knew that I needed the company. Even though I did not like my chores at the time, I'm thankful for them now. Growing my own food has already taught me so much, even in the small space that I have. I would love to have more space someday and have a larger garden, but for now, this is what I'll work with, and this will do. I'm thankful for what I have. I've had so much fun learning new ways to preserve that food, whether it's by freezing or fermenting the veggies I've grown. It's been a blast. This summer, I was able to grow so much of my own food and produce that I was able to spend so much less at the grocery store and save that money. That kind of practicality made me so excited and motivated to learn more about growing my own food. The pandemic taught me a lot about how quickly grocery store shelves can be empty. It feels good knowing that I can grow something for myself and my community. It has also been teaching me to slow down, to listen to my senses and enjoy being outside. Something about this kind of work has felt relaxing and peaceful. I hope that you're enjoying your season of harvest and that you get to enjoy the fruits of your labor, even if that has nothing to do with gardening. Until next time, my friends, goodbye.